In this video, we're going to be looking at implementing a node class in C++. So the node class is going to be one part of our linked list implementation. The other part is really where we get into the linked list in and of itself. So the node class is going to allow us to create these nodes, which are really the components of a linked list. And the nodes will encapsulate some sort of data. So if we're dealing with a contact, it may be their name, their first name, their last name, their email, their address, their phone number, whatever it may be. And we'll have a pointer, and that pointer will be capable of referencing other nodes. We have to have a mechanism to link or chain these nodes together. But it will be the linked list class, which is not today's video, but another video, in which we'll actually write the operations for being able to add nodes to our linked list, to be able to traverse our linked list. So if we want to print something out or find a particular node, whatever it may be. So let's go ahead and go over to Eclipse and implement our node class. Okay, so I'm over in Eclipse now, and I've already created a project called contact list here. So we're going to be creating a contact linked list. And the first thing that we need to do is create a header file to represent our node class. So we'll go ahead and right click on the contact list and go new, header file, and we'll call our header file just contact. So contact.h, it's going to be the name of the file, and go ahead and click on finish. So now that we have that, we need to do a couple of pound includes. So we'll do a pound include for IOStream, and we'll also do a pound include for the string class. So we'll do the string class as well. And now we're ready to go in and actually create the class itself. So we'll say class, and the name of the class is going to be contact. So the first thing that we'll do inside the class is just simply write a declaration for friend function for overloading the insertion operator. So if you haven't watched some of my earlier videos when I talked about developing a class or writing a class, you may want to go back and watch those, and I'll try to put a link to some of those earlier videos that may be helpful for this video in the description. So we need to have friend here, std : ostream, ampersand, and then operator insertion. Since we're going to be overloading the insertion operator, then std : ostream ampersand os is going to be the name that I associate with the ostream object, and then we'll pass in by constant reference our contact value. So we have contact being passed in by reference, and we'll just name it C. So that's just simply a function prototype. And then we'll define a public area here. So public : and in the public area we'll have our constructor. So our constructor is going to be really simple. It's just going to be contact, open paren, std : and the only thing that we're going to associate with a contact is a name, just like we had in our example for a linked list. So we'll say string here, name, and we'll also have it stand in as a default constructor. So we'll assign a value here of maybe, I don't know, none. Depends on what you want to have there as the default value for the name of your contact. So we have our public area, and then we'll come in and write our private area as well. So we have a private area here for our private data members, and associated with the private data members we'll have obviously a name. So we'll do std string name, and then we'll also have a pointer here. So we have to have a link associated with our node. So again, this is a node class that we're trying to define here for a contact linked list. And our nodes have to be able to reference other contact nodes. So we have to have a pointer of the appropriate type. So this is a contact pointer, and we'll call it next. So that's just the convention in terms of what we call the link pointer. So I want to be able to point to the next thing in the linked list. So this is all we need for right now for our header file. And again, you could go in and define more data associated with a contact. So for right now, we only have a name, but you could specify additional data members here for, an email address. And you could break it down to first name, last name, telephone number, a lot of information there. But again, you have to have the data, and you have to have some sort of link there that's going to be able to allow you to reference point to another node. So let's go ahead and go in and create our CPP file. So I'll go ahead and go over here back to our project, right click on it, go to new, and specify a source file, and we'll do contact.cpp. And this is going to be a fairly short file. So inside of the contact.cpp file, the first thing we need to do is do a pound include. So we'll do pound include of our header file. So that's just simply contact.h. So we'll have that. And then we'll start doing our, well, I guess we need to do using namespace standard. That's typically what we do here. So those are okay to do using namespace standard inside of our CPP files, just not a good idea inside the header files. Okay, so before I write the constructor, let me save my work, since if we're going to be making use of the auto completion feature in Eclipse, I need to make sure that I have that header file saved, otherwise it won't show anything in the drop-down list whenever we try to do auto completion. So we'll go ahead and do contact, : and then we're going to be using the constructor there. We need to have a string, and I'm going to just use the variable in there for the name being passed in to our constructor, so the name of our contact. And I'm also going to be using an initializer list, so I'll have a : here, and what we need to do is just simply initialize our data member. So we need to initialize the data member name with the value that was passed in, or the string that was passed in, to n there in the constructor. And then we'll have a comma, and then we also need to initialize our pointer for next. So a next is going to just simply be initialized to null. And then we won't have to do anything in terms of the body of the constructor. We can just have an empty body, an open brace, and a close brace. So the only other thing that we need to define here inside of the CPP file is the overloaded insertion operator. So we know that with overloading the insertion operator, we need to return an OStream object by reference so that we can do chaining. So we'll have OStream ampersand here, and then we're overloading the insertion operator. So we'll have operator, and then what operator we're overloading. And then we need to pass in a reference to the OStream object, and then we need to pass in, by constant reference, a reference to our contact that we're interested in actually outputting. So we'll say OStream here, ampersand, and we'll just call it OS, and then by constant reference we'll pass in our contact, and we'll just call it C. And then here inside the body we'll just simply have one statement, and it'll just be a return statement in which we return OS insertion, and then have a string literal for maybe name, since that's the only thing we really want to print out. And then we'll do insertion operator, and then do C dot name. And that's it. That's all we need to have inside of the CPP file. So this only defines our node class. It does not actually define our linked list class. We have another class that we need to define, and I'll do that in another video. We could try to compile this, and maybe I will try to compile it, but since we haven't defined a main, it's going to complain about a main not existing. So let me go ahead and try to build this to see if we get any other errors that may exist. And it looks like it built okay, other than it just doesn't have a reference to main. Alright, so that's it for this video.